Hello, everyone. It is me, your favorite agent. Some call me the voice of the female agent. Some even love to call me Medicare male. But you know one thing, it is a great day to sell insurance. That's right, it's me, your friend, Melissa D. Hall. And y'all, we got an amazing show today. First of all, if you all watched our last episode, which is no reason for you not to, okay, we kicked off what was that? Medicare Masters Academy. Okay. Right. We kicked that open. All right. The doors are open for that. So for those of you all who want to get started in the Medicare industry, okay, or if you've been in the Medicare industry and you want to take it up a level, become a household name, that is for you. All you have to do is go to melissadhall.com/resources, and you can go ahead and join us there in this monthly self-paced membership. And also in our last video, how can I? It was all about the guide, okay? The 2024 guide on getting started with Medicare, okay? So if you go here to the YouTube channel, you can watch that video. I gave you step by step from getting your license, okay? From and how much it costs to how much you make as a Medicare agent for taking the AHIP, right? What it looks like to take the AHIP. From also from there, what else did we cover? Marketing, how to market, okay, and what else, E&O insurance and everything in between. It was like really a thorough video, okay, on how to get started, okay. Also too, all right, it came with a free e-guide. So if you still go to the melissadhall.com/resources, you could get that free 14-page guide on getting started in the Medicare industry, okay, you all. So listen, today's episode is a good one. All right. We are going to be talking all about getting started with brick and mortar. All right. Because that's important too, especially with those regulations coming. You know, one of the things that I'm finding in the insurance industry, it's going to become more and more about building a brand and less about leads. Right. And so I brought a master in today. And she my friend. She's my friend. She's always been cool people. Okay. I see her, she's smiling backstage. Some of you all may know her as Medicare Wonder Woman. Others may know her as Rebecca, that girl Davis. Okay, y'all. I've known her for years. She's super cool. She's a lover of all people. She will give you the shirt off her back. Oh, she give me her shirt. Listen, she's wearing pink today, so she got to give that to me, okay? Listen, she has some amazing things coming up. Not only is she a wonderful businesswoman who has her own brick and mortar agency, okay, and she teaches others how to do that. And she just agreed she's going to do a special class in Medicare Masters, teaching us about that. But also, she's also having a retreat, okay, with Club Win, and she's going to talk about that. She's also wrote a book. Oh, she's also called a Queen of Grassroots. Okay. And she's written a book on that. And if you are part of the Medicare Masters, if you go to our best AP ever, she gave a course on grassroots. Like when I tell you, we have that girl here who's going to teach us everything. Okay. Listen, in the comments, you all watching this, put that girl because that's who she is. That girl. Let's welcome Miss Rebecca Davis to the stage, y'all. Hello.
Oh my gosh, Melissa, I am blushing a little bit. That was quite an intro. Thank
Yes.
you.
You're
And
welcome.
yes, I wore pink just for you because I know that's your signature color.
Yes, Rebecca. It has been some time. Listen, I'm gonna just put it out there. Since we last talked, you became a seven-figure earner. Is that right?
That is true. Gosh, has it
Say
been that long since we talked? Because that was
yes,
last
like yeah, it was
year.
you before. Say I'm a millionaire now. I'm a
No,
millionaire.
seven-figure earners not the same thing as a millionaire. Let's classify that, right?
Okay, let's
Whereas
classify. Let's talk about that. What's
So
the
that's
difference?
a great thing because people put that all the time on Facebook, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, they're a million. No, that's not what that means. Don't ever let that fool you. We're a seven-figure commission earning agency, right? So we bring in over $7 million in commissions annually. But by the time you do payroll, pay your mortgage, pay your light bill, no, I'm not left with no $1 million, y'all. I
I
wish
know.
I was, but I'm not. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Soon come. So let's talk about that, right? So, all right. from six figures to seven figures, right? How has life changed and business changed from you from six figures to seven figures?
Well, life. I mean, I have a lot of, we'll say, buying power, even though I don't technically have $1 million in cash flow, right, or cash in my
Hmm.
bank account to make me millionaire if I was standards. But you have a lot of buying power. If I just bought the building next door, so
Wow.
ultimately, so I didn't have bad neighbors because we shared the same property, like for parking
What?
and stuff. The lady that owned that is older, and the people that had been renting it for a million years, they got out or retired or whatever they did. And she came over and asked me if I wanted the building. And it took me like 2 seconds to be like, yeah, I want the building, because I'm thinking about, like, I got to share a parking lot with somebody and I want to pick my neighbors. you know,
Yes.
as an early on six-figure earner, I would have never been able to just say yes and then just known whatever I told my bank I was doing, it'd be okay. So
I love
the
that.
buying power, definitely. And whether it's buying power like real estate, buying power because I want to take my family on vacation, or hiring more staff, I know we can do it without having to put too much thought process in it.
That's wonderful. It's financial freedom, less anxiety, and one thing I can say, it's power into being able to experiment where it's like everything is not a life and death choice. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Yes.
could say like at six figures, right? If things go wrong, it could still very much impact you, right? So it's like everything got to work, right? But it seems to be when you get to that seven figure mark, if it doesn't work, it's okay, right? You can rebound and you don't have that anxiety. And so for those of you all who do not know, again, Rebecca, she has her own brick and mortar, but she also owns her own building, right? And so now you were able to buy the building next to you. And are you going to rent that part out next to you, or are you going to expand your agency there?
So interesting question, because we've been bouncing this around. Ultimately, the building needed a massive remodel. It's a huge building. It's 9,000 square feet.
Wow.
And we kind of ripped everything out of it. And turns out it's what we call a clear span building. So it's wide open space. So it doesn't have to be in the walls the way it's structured. And so we're in the middle of chopping it up and getting the permits. And as of right now, it's on the schedule to basically make it a 3-unit occupancy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rent out the front, because it's kind of a long building. I'm going to cut it
Hmm.
kind of in half and then in a third. And I'm going to rent out the two front spaces. And then the whole back space we're keeping. And then we'll be using it. In fact, I'm going to move my my setup here, my videos, my podcast, whatever I do. We're going to move it into the building, create a room for it. So to get it out of here, to create more floor space for the office. And we'll do some things like that, right? Because my storage in the back is like, let's see, now been, the agency's been in business like 7-8 years. So we have 7-8 years worth of files in the back that are like encroaching in on everybody's desks and things. So we'll be
Yes.
able to make some breathing room here in the office. But I am going to keep a third of the building for space here for whatever we need. I'm actually going to move my training room over there because there's a bigger space. And then my conference room here will be more for smaller things with just the internal team, but I'll make a big training room over there. So when our downlines come in, or if we have big senior classes and things like that, we have a bigger room to use. So we're going to kind of hybrid that space. Ultimately, I'm going to rent part of it out, pay the mortgage on it with the rental income, and then use the other part to expand our office here.
I love that. Congratulations. That's huge. Y'all see what going ahead, making those seven figures will do for you? It will give you that financial freedom that we are all looking for, right? Because we're all looking for it. And somebody was like, if you don't make $1 million, like, why are you in business? And it will, look, you can acquire property and do a lot of good with it. So I think that's amazing. Something for you to pass down to your beautiful son, right?
That is the goal, although we're only a couple blocks away from the Tarleton University here, and they're growing like a weed. So I'm actually, this property may be more my retirement plan. Because between
Okay.
the two buildings and the property, I literally have like an acre of ground, like
Mhm.
walking distance to the college on the main drag of our town.
Mm.
So
That's
ultimately,
great.
this could be just a retirement plan in the making.
Yes, it sure is. It sure will be. So, first of all, where are you located at, Rebecca?
I am in Stephensville, Texas, known as Cowboy Capital of the World. I moved here 23 years ago. It was a tiny little town then. It has grown so much in the last few years, though, Melissa. We now have like a TJ Maxx and Big Five. Oh, a Hobby Lobby. That's the big one. Like
Oh,
everybody's into the Hobby Lobby. I
y'all
mean,
the
we've had
country
like
for
a
real,
Walmart and
right?
HEB and three Allsups, and that's about the extent of the town for most of the time I've lived here. So it is booming right now. Every time I turn around, there's a new high-rise going in for apartments, for the college, or another fast food joint. We're getting our second Starbucks.
Okay.
And so it is booming. So it's going from a very small town to almost like a small city. We're about an hour from Fort Worth, for those of you that don't know where Stephenville is. And it has always been country. Very much a ranch farming lifestyle here. Tarleton is known to be an agricultural school, and then they have a huge nursing program. So that's kind of the way of life, but it's changing, and I can see it even with my current employees, my younger employees, where they're coming from. I got a girl that works for me now that's ultimately from New York City or New York, and I was like, "You're from New York? Really? What are you doing here?" I'm like, and I had another guy that was like from the Chicago area, all recent, because they're moving in for the college, and then they like it here and they're staying. So
Okay.
we are definitely diversifying here and growing, which is kind of a fun thing, but our streets don't have the space. We're not equipped for all this growth. So it's also becoming some challenges too, just living here.
Well, I bet it sounds like it's kind of ripe. Like the place is definitely ripe and a lot of opportunity. So, for those of you all who don't know Rebecca, okay, aka Medicare Wonder Woman, Rebecca, just tell the people who you are, okay, how you got started in the industry and what you have achieved.
So, as Melissa's saying, I am the Medicare Wonder Woman because I take the wonder out of Medicare. I actually started with State Farm, though. Gosh, it's been 11 years ago now. I can keep track because my son's the whole reason why I'm in the insurance space. I was actually managing retail stores when I had my son, and when I took one look at him, I didn't want to work nights, weekends, or holidays anymore. When you work retail, that's what you do. The joke was on me though, because I went to State Farm and that was the goal. It was a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. But then I was there for like 4 years, 4.5 years, something like that. And I decided it was time to move on. I wanted to focus on Medicare specifically and then individual health, because I actually already knew how to do individual health through them. But Medicare was something new. So when I went out on my own, that was my focus. And it's funny because the whole point of going to State Farm from retail was so I didn't have to work 9 to 5s and have weekends off. Well, now I work 7 days a week. I work like 20 hours a day. It doesn't matter if I'm in the office or on vacation with my family. I have like 2 laptops with me, 2 cell phones. I'm always working. So the joke's kind of on me. I wanted to ultimately have a better schedule. And then I threw myself into this whirlwind. But ultimately, I wouldn't change it for anything. It's been such a blessing to us, my family. I feel like I have such a purpose in this business. And for those of you who don't know, I think part of the reason why I'm so what I think of as good at my job, because one thing I care and I truly believe what we do is matters, is because 23 years ago, long before I was in the insurance business, I wrecked a car. And I literally broke everything from here to here. So I broke my back in 9 places. I broke my neck. I broke my scapula. And they weren't even sure if I was going to walk again at the hospital. Well, I did walk again, but the problem is I walked out with $1 million in hospital debt. I had insurance. That was the kicker. So an agent sold me a bad plan that was supposed to do all these things and ultimately didn't cover anything. And I took it to 3 lawyers and they all said the same thing. There's nothing we can do. So fast forward, moving and falling into insurance just because of my son and not even thinking about that. Over time, I was like, I really enjoy this. I really like what I'm doing. I really care. And I was trying to pinpoint. And one day I just kind of realized, I'm like, well, duh. Because of what I went through before, I'm really particular about the products I sell. I try to put myself on anything that we get in that's new that I'm not sure. I vet it. I literally put myself on it and use it. Now, I can't do that with Medicare because I'm not there yet, but I have parents that are. So I use them and vet products, and then just make sure they do what they're supposed to do, because I was that person that ultimately it didn't work. And it really screwed things up for me. I had to file bankruptcy at 23 to get out from that hospital debt, because back then that still went on your credit report and big time, right?
Right.
And, so it's funny. They say you plan and God laughs. And ultimately, I think I'm where I'm supposed to be, where I was supposed to be all along. And, God has a way of showing you where you go, whether you believe it or not, fate, whatever you want to call it. I truly believe I'm here for a reason, doing this for a reason.
I love it. I love it. Okay. All right. Wow, Rebecca. So that's crazy. So you ended up with all that debt. What type of policy was it, if you don't mind? And like, why couldn't they get you your money? Like, what was the caveat?
Well, I can't really get into it.
Okay. Okay.
But ultimately, just there are plans out there to this day
Hmm.
that work off of a similar guideline, and ultimately they don't work. They're not geared for major medical debt, regardless of how they spin it. It just doesn't. And, not everybody is like me and you that truly care. I mean, you open this up with we're $1 million agency, but that's not why I do this.
Hmm.
Having the money and the financial freedom is amazing. Don't get me wrong. But I knew I was in the right business when my first client I worked with, they lost their group and they're bawling at my desk. They're crying literally because they can't get their medications. They can't afford it. And they did not know what they were going to do. And the wife, who ultimately is the one being impacted, she didn't even know she was already on Medicare because they were on group health. And then she had
Hmm.
Medicare on the side. She didn't even know it. Well, we figured that out. And then I also figured out that they're actually Medicaid eligible. So I put them on Medicaid, and then I put them on a dual plan and all the things. I mean, it was my very first Medicare appointment. So it took like 3 hours to get through it. But by God, we did. And when they left the room, they were now crying over happy tears instead of sad tears, because she knew she was going to be okay. And in
Absolutely.
that moment, I knew I was in the right industry. And that was long before I ever cashed a single check as a Medicare agent.
Absolutely. That's one thing I do love about this Medicare industry is that we're able to affect change right away. Versus I'll talk about life insurance is when a person dies, right? But with Medicare, we're able to do it now, and I just think that is such a beautiful thing. So now here we are, right? You have your brick and mortar. Did you always kind of, I know you probably got the whole brick and mortar influence from working for State Farm, right? Did you always kind of work like brick and mortar, or did you start out in a field or over the phone? How did you start your Medicare career?
Well, I did try to do it from the kitchen table initially.
Hmm.
My husband was deployed, and Cannon was, gosh, like around 4. And I hadn't been home like that, right? I'd been going to a 9 to 5, and so I was home, and it was so funny. I'd take Cannon to his school or daycare or whatever he was at the time, or grandma and grandpa, so I was watching him. And then I go sit down and get my laptop out, and I'm going to go to work. Well, the dishes were piling up, or it was a beautiful day outside and I just wanted to go outside for a minute, or I needed to do laundry. And so I was always being distracted at home
Hmm.
with things. And then I'd finally be ready to go to work about 9 o'clock at night, because I've always been kind of a night owl. It's changing now with my age. I'm starting to not like it. I need to be in bed by 9:30 now, but I used to always be like super night owl. So by 9 o'clock at night, I'm really ready to go to work finally. But yeah, I can't call anybody because it's too late at night.
Yes, yes, yes.
So I knew for me personally, if I stayed at the kitchen table, I was going to die at the kitchen table. Like, I was never going to get this off the ground. It was very minimal. So I went and looked in town for just a tiny, very inexpensive little office space. And I found a shared office inside of a group of therapists. There was a group of therapists on the square who had this one little, like 10 by 10, barely big enough for a desk, but it had the window. It was on the street side, so it had a window, so I could put a sign up in the window because they had their own signage. And I'm like, I can put a sign up. It was $300 a month, include the electric and everything. I'm like, this is perfect. I just need some place to get out of my house where I don't, get distracted by the normal things of mom life, to
Hmm.
focus, and then ultimately bring a client to too. Because we can meet at Starbucks and we can meet here and yonder, but sometimes that becomes somewhat impersonal, or if they have a big group, maybe even a little unprofessional. And I don't want them coming to my house. And not everybody wants us going to their house, right? So it gave us a meeting spot ultimately. And in the back, there was a conference room. So if I needed a bigger space, I could utilize it. So that's really where Cannonball Insurance, which is the company I own, it's Cannonball Insurance Solutions, where it really got its start when I moved out from my kitchen table. Now, there's lots of agents that can do the kitchen table thing, and they do amazing at it. But for me, I needed that environment. I wanted that space to focus. It's funny though, I can work from home now totally fine on my laptop, but I'm programmed. Like I'm fully programmed. I know what I do every day, all day long. I have my list, I have my appointments, my calendar's full. I'm programmed. So it's different. But for me, I needed that environment to officially, let's get to work.
No, absolutely. I'm the same way. Like I have my office, but I never believed in working from home, but now it's okay. You know what I mean? Sometimes, especially like during AP, it gives you kind of like, all right, all your stuff is here. I'm ready to work hard. You know what I mean? So I get it. So let's talk about that. All right, so you hang your shingle, okay? It's just you. And how did you start getting people to come see you? Like at your office? Like what were you doing?
Grassroots, baby.
That's right.
So, as I mentioned, my husband was deployed, and we went from a 2 income household to a 1 income household.
Mm,
And so there wasn't a lot of extra cash. He made enough with the military to pay our bills, but that was about it. There wasn't money there to go buy leads. There wasn't money to, do big advertising campaigns. So I got in the field. I hit the streets. Knocked on doors. When I say knock on doors, I don't mean knock on client doors. I mean knock on business doors. Knock on the senior center. Knock on the library. Knock on other insurance agencies that don't do health and Medicare, like the State Farms of the world, and get to know people and ultimately get involved in your community. Like us in the chamber are one. We do everything the chamber does. I mean, we're so involved with our chamber in the events that they put on, and we're involved in just the regular community events. So there's things like Halloween festivals and Christmas festivals, and we do booths at all those things. And we went to the DVA and we went to the Erath County Veterans. And if it's a place ultimately where we can potentially meet potential clients that fit what our client avatar, we're there. I've helped veterans host bake sales in front of Walmart. I wasn't afraid. It didn't matter. If it was a chance for me to meet somebody new that ultimately I could help with their insurance, we did it.
so let me ask you a question, right? Because you spoke about two things, right? Number one, okay, you kind of were a single mom, right? When your son, because your husband was deployed. Where was your son at during this time? Were you taking him along with you? Did he become part of the business?
Well, his name's on the front of the building, so
I know,
yes.
right? It's
So Cannonball Insurance is the name. Cannon is the name of my son, both spelled with a K. So, he as he grows, he goes into school and things. So he's in school or he's in daycare. Or my mother was a huge help. She would always babysit. Always. It didn't matter the time of day. It didn't matter the weather. It did not matter if I said, "Hey, Mom, you want Cannon for a minute?" If she was like, "Yes, I'll be there in 5." I was
okay.
blessed with that, and not everybody has that, and I understand that. I was blessed with that, but Cannon is an only grandchild, and
Mm,
he's my only child, and ultimately he's our only grandchild for my parents' family. And my mom wasn't the healthiest. So
mhm.
ultimately, she had free time because she was either doing her medical needs or she was free because she wasn't able to do a lot of her normal day to day stuff because I grew up on a ranch and she couldn't really work the ranch anymore. But she was used to doing something, right? So I think in her
Okay.
mind, this is something she could do. It gave her purpose. And of course, she got to be with her grandson. And if we go
I,
any much farther, I'm going to start crying because I did
no, we
lose my
won't.
mom in 19.
Okay, no problem, no problem. So let's switch gears, right? So next question, you mentioned something about partnering with the Chamber of Commerce, right?
Mhm.
Tell me, what is your angle for partnering with the chamber? Because when I think of the Chamber of Commerce, I think, okay, it's a bunch of business people, not necessarily people who are connected to seniors.
True. And I think you need to vet your chamber too before you jump in. Because I know, like in the Metroplex areas and stuff where you have like several counties right there, I always tell my agents, you need to vet them because not every chamber is the same, not even close. We have an amazing chamber of commerce. July Danley runs our chamber here, and she'll never see this, but kudos to her. She is an absolutely amazing leader. She does things for this community all the time. They're very involved. And yes, the chamber themselves are about businesses, but the businesses are all trying to do the same thing, which was make Stephenville a better place to live, whether it's through events, activities, or using each other as resources. So even though the chamber events are generally ribbon cuttings and meet and greets at different businesses, they also run a lot of the city gatherings like Holly Jolly. Something called Holly Jolly is our Christmas deal that they put on. It's a whole festival and they host it, they run it. And of course, all us chamber members, our sponsors, we get booths for it and our businesses are there and we bring some fun. There's cookie decorating and meeting Santa, and we do a cash grab machine and give out prizes and gift cards. I mean, anything you can think of. So it's meant to be a fun event, but ultimately it's the businesses that are involved in the chamber that give the fun activities to the city for the locals to come in. So in that, they get to know who we are. They get to know our name. It's not business orientated, it's branding. And I think a lot of agents, they don't see, if they don't get an immediate lead or immediate sale for something, they think it's not worth doing. And that is so far from the truth. It is branding. I don't buy leads. I don't have to buy leads. I haven't had to buy a lead and I don't even know how long. I'm not even sure I ever did because when I needed to, I couldn't afford it. But ultimately, my phone rings. I have 14 people in my office working for me and they can't keep up with the amount of calls we take in. In fact, our VP came in yesterday and he was like, because we're no longer in open enrollment season. He's like, do you know we had 297 calls come in yesterday?
Wow.
297 calls because I work in my community and I learned to brand myself, to make my name known and just let people know I'm here to help. And that's all I had to do.
297 calls came in one day.
Yesterday. Inbound.
What did you do? Are you running an ad? A commercial?
No. Nope. It is word of mouth and people just saying call us.
Let me ask you a question. Like seriously here. 297 calls came in your office. How many came in a day?
I don't know. We were in a team meeting from 10 to 3, but we have so many voicemails. We're all trying to answer them right now.
It's 300 calls a day. Is that normal for you?
Well, here's the thing. I don't ever track the calls that come in. I've always tracked the calls that go out because, in my opinion, sales needs to be outbound dialing, right?
No, that's
the
right.
service handles the inbound calls. But ultimately, we had 200. They brought it to my attention yesterday. We had 297 calls 2 days after open enrollment, and I had like 10 people in office working that day. And they wonder why we have voicemails stacking up because, again, I can't keep up with what I built. We are so blessed. Believe me, this is not a complaint at all. We are so blessed that we can't keep up. But when you start having these problems, it starts a whole different problem for insurance agents, right? When you're new, you're just trying to get the phone to ring, and that is your sole problem. Once you've built it, you ever watch that movie, If They Build It, They Will Come? I'm a big believer of that. Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. So if you build it and you have good integrity and you're ethical and you do things by the right way, they will come. So now they're coming. And now we have different problems because we're a bigger agency. I need more staff. We've interviewed like 6 or 7 people this week. I have 60 applications that came in over open enrollment that we're sifting through because now I need more people. I am at the problem. Every month I need more people. I always need more people.
I love that. That's a beautiful problem to have. Seriously, Rebecca.
It is.
I'm proud of you. So let me ask you, okay, 297 calls. That's a person's dream. Okay, period. I want 297 calls a day. Okay. Like that's a dream. So let's talk about that. Like, okay, you've gone from hanging a shingle, you're working with the department. So let me ask you, is most of your business, those 297, are they all local people or is that outside of your state?
I would say, I mean, we have a ton of local. So I would probably say 50% of our people is probably within 30 minutes of my building.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in 47 states. I work
Mm-hmm.
47 states.
Okay.
So the other chunk of people maybe 25% or maybe within 2 hours of us. And then there's 25% probably in scattered around all the other states.
Okay. All right. No problem. And okay. So you got that. So again, going from hanging a shingle, beating the streets, right? When did things kind of make a turning point for you? When was the turning point from, okay, this is really getting big? Like what was that turning point?
I think, I mean, it's not really turning big, but I think the turning point to realize that this is really something and could be big was
Mm-hmm.
early on. Probably when I hired my first receptionist or secretary, whatever you call her, because we didn't really have a phone system yet. It was still me on my cell phone, but I needed somebody to help me with retention activities like sending thank you cards, booking appointments, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized I had to hire somebody to do that because I could no longer stay up till like 1 o'clock in the morning writing my own thank you cards because then I was just exhausted the next day and it was just an everyday thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, I got to hire somebody. When you realize you're starting a business and it's a service-based business, which you putting it on your shoulders originally, and you're thinking you're building yourself something that you can just run. And now you've gotten enough people coming to you that you can't do it by yourself and you got to hire somebody. I think that's the light bulb that goes off to be like, wait a minute, this isn't just me selling insurance. This is a business. You hire your first staff member. You just went from being a solopreneur or an insurance agent to now you are creating a business. And that in itself is very different from moving from the single agent, I'm running my book, to hiring people. Because now you have to support the people you hire. And so you've got to get good at business.
Yes, yes, yes. And those are two different things. Being a solo super producer to becoming a business owner, right? And so maybe you could talk about that. Like, how did you learn to become a good business owner, right? How did you learn that? Like making that kind of transition.
I still learn every day,
Yes, yes,
honestly.
yes.
But
Mhm.
ultimately, I mean, I come from the farm and ranch world, and I've entrepreneurial spirit runs deep in our blood.
Yes.
Self-employed, we call it back then, because my dad trained horses for a living. But we dealt with
Mhm.
the public, we dealt with clients, so that's what I knew. So that part wasn't too hard. But my father never had 14 employees and 600 other agents in the field that they were managing. There was the family and usually one other employee, to run the ranch. And that was about the extent of it. So managing people on that side of things is not something I learned growing up.
Mhm.
So I asked a lot of questions to people smarter than me. I had gotten a lot of rooms with people smarter than me doing the things I wanted to do. And whether it was in insurance or just business in general, I mean, HR, when you start really dealing with several people in your office, HR can be a real nightmare. I mean, the
Yes, again.
legalities of it, just, this person's sick, this person's not, they get appointments, just juggling an office. I mean, it's a lot. And you got to learn it. You're either going to learn it the hard way or the easy way. I was learning it the hard way. And then I finally found conferences and events and trainings, because my first 3 or 4 years in this business, I never went to one. The only event or training I ever went to was to like a carrier event, where they roll
Mhm.
out something or they teaching you about their specific plan. They don't teach you this business stuff at those
No,
trainings.
they don't. No, they don't. That's something totally different.
Yep. So I finally stumbled across, my very first outside of the training was, believe it or not, 8% Nation. Somehow,
Mhm.
I think I ran across it on Facebook, and it was local. It was in Dallas. But I'm like, well, that's interesting. I'm going to go. And it's, it's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. And the speaker's on stage, and I was just floored. And Galen Hendricks was there. I can't remember if she spoke the first year or not, but she was there. And, if you're in our business for any length of time, you'll know who she is. And if you don't know who she is and she's been in our business for a while, you need to Google her, because she's kind of a trailblazer, especially for us women. She started many, many moons ago with her dad. And, women back then weren't really supposed to be sales agents. And she earned her spot to the top and has really built something amazing. And I consider her somebody to really look up to as far as a woman goes in creating a business. But, people like her, and then just other people that have been in the business a long time. And then people that haven't been in insurance, but were business owners in general there. And, they were talking. And then, of course, you finally get into that mix, and you learn to hunt out things, because the resources are there if you actually know to go looking for them.
Absolutely. I think definitely, I know for myself, I've learned a lot from people who haven't been in the industry, and like you said, who run business like me. I'm really big on the real estate business. And I got big on real estate. Like me, I really look up to Tom Ferry. I love Tom Ferry. You know who that is?
I do not, but doesn't mean he's not amazing. I'll be Googling him later.
Yeah, look up Tom Ferry. Tom Ferry, he's probably worth close to $500 million now. And he was just talking about having that business owner mindset, just how to organize your day, how to run your business, how to check in with your team, things like that. So I think definitely getting not necessarily the insurance sales knowledge, but being the business owner knowledge is a big deal. And I gravitated to Tom Ferry because, again, with real estate, they tend to have bigger deals than insurance deals, right? And so I wanted to get around a person who was making $1 million, who was closing those big mega deals that weren't necessarily happening in our industry, and to get into their mindset. And he was that person for me, personally. So, okay, tell us, okay, you have a brick and mortar, right? And a lot of times now people are seeing brick and mortar, right, as an expense, as an overhead expense, more so than a real investment, right? Everybody's doing things online, building virtual agencies, things of that sort. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we have this conversation a lot with new agents that come on board of the style of business you want to run. I
Hmm.
mean, sometimes I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I'm jealous a little bit. I'll call it jealousy. It's not really jealousy, maybe.
Hmm.
Well, it kind of is, where they're like in Cancun this weekend, and they're in Bali
Yes.
next weekend, and then they're in the States, and they're working. It's not that they're not working, but they get to work anywhere in the world because they don't have a walk-in location, right? So that's the plus of not developing brick and mortar. You can be a free bird and go anywhere you want to. But then with a brick and mortar, it's a whole lot easier to brand yourself. It's a whole lot easier to get embedded in the community and a place where people feel comfortable in coming, because I don't have to explain myself that, no, I am a real business. No, I really am, because I have a 4,000 square foot building on the main drag of our town. Nobody's going to question if I'm a real business or not. Or a lot of my counterparts or people under us, sometimes they get the weird question and be like, are you real? Are you a scam? No, you can come see me in my office.
Yes.
If you can get past my front desk, because I have really good front desk girls, then you can come see me in my office. But so that eliminates some of those struggles of people questioning if you're real, if you're a deal, and it doesn't matter what state I call, because, well, you're like, well, you're still calling it. I am. And I invite them to come to my office anytime they want to, or they can go on my website and see my building, or they can go onto our Facebook page and see my building. So to some degree, you're more real. You're not just a
Yes.
voice on the phone. So it is good twofold. I get a little jealous of y'all, flying about the world as you please, but then I had 297 calls yesterday, and I don't have any advertising out.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I love my office. I love traveling too, don't get me wrong, but I love my office. My kiddo's in school. I can't just pick up and leave anytime I want to anyways. So I build what I have because this is what I enjoy, and I needed the space initially, and I built it. I'm blessed for it. I love it and live it every day. And, down the road, once we're a little older, our business is a little older, I will have the right people in place that I can go travel. But the only flip side is when I finally get to go travel in that scenario, I won't have to take my laptop because I'll have the
Okay.
people in place to run the business that's still getting 297 calls or whatever it is for the day, and they're handling it. And I get to truly enjoy the experience that I'm experiencing.
I love that. I love it. Absolutely. That time freedom. Time freedom to me is the real financial freedom, because when you can control what you do with your time, that's a whole nother level. So when I used to work for Lincoln, right? I when I started there, Jack London, who owns Lincoln Heritage, he started Lincoln Heritage. He was still alive, okay, and he used to call all the top producers every month, right? And I mean over 100 agents. And so I was always on that list, right? And so and so he would call, right? And I remember one time he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you." Because I heard like some wind blowing. He said, "I can't hear you. I'm at the beach." Okay. So he's having that freedom. He's calling us because he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he does that one day a month or 2 days a month. And then he lives his life because he done built this big organization. So definitely you will get there. So let's talk about. I know you have a retreat coming up. Okay. Wish I could come. You're doing it on Valentine's Day weekend. Tell the people about Club Win, because Club Win, it's been around and you all are doing some positive things and really just transforming women's lives in the insurance industry. So tell everybody about that, Rebecca.
So Club Win, Win stands for Women in Insurance Niches. Is two I's in Win. So if you Google it, make sure you put two I's.
Hmm.
And we started, I have a partner on Club Win with Faye Horton, and she's an absolute doll. She's probably
Yes.
forgotten more about this business than some of us will ever know. She's been in the business a long time. She's been on the carrier side, she's been on the agent side. I mean, she's just done it all. And she
Shout
is a
out to Faye.
doll. Yes,
She
she
is.
is an
She's
absolute
very.
doll.
Yeah, she is. Faye is great. If you all are in Medicare Masters, she did a course in there about provider marketing. She is a guru when it comes to provider marketing and getting in those doctors' offices. She knows how to do it, and she just helps everybody. She's a great spirit,
I
for
love
real.
her.
Very
And
dynamic.
right before COVID, she
Hmm.
reached out to me and she asked me if I'd be a keynote speaker for an event she was going to have in Florida. And of course, I said yes. And then a few weeks later, COVID happened and nobody was going anywhere. So she reached back out to me and she's like, "Well, I don't want to give up. I still want to do something." And so we kind of put our heads together and we come up with Club Win. And it started out as a membership group where it's like Zoom meetings, live trainings. We help, and it's women only. That's kind of the key thing. It's women only, and you have to be a licensed insurance agent. And we focus on Medicare, health insurance, the ancillary products, and life. Those are our focuses. Those are our niches that we train on. And so we started this membership group, and then we had that going. And then finally, some of the regulations of COVID lifted. And so we decided we wanted to do a retreat. We didn't want to do a conference, we wanted to do a retreat. We wanted to be personal, intimate, where we could really be women, but then gain knowledge, experience, motivation, and key relationships that you're not going to get just at any other place. So we started the retreat. It's over in Florida. It's in Kissimmee, Florida, which is right by Orlando. You fly into Orlando. And we found a mansion in this resort community that we rented where we hold the actual retreat in. And then there's also condos that we rent, and then we put all the ladies up in condos. So we have the guests stay in condos and the speakers stay in the house, but then everything is done in the main house. And we handle the food, we handle the meetings, we handle the parties, we handle the alcohol, we handle it all. And we come together. This year it's for 3 days. And we learn, we collaborate, we celebrate, and we get to be women sharing so many of the same issues. There's lots of single moms. There's, families juggling a spouse and kids, just being single. I mean, we can all relate to each other because we've all been there or are
Hmm.
there currently. And we're all wanting one thing, and that's to grow our businesses. It's all in good fun. There's absolutely no drama. In fact, our tagline last year was "It's cheaper in therapy" because the
Yes,
first
I
year
saw
we
that.
had it, most of the kind of the higher ups ladies, they were so shocked, and the sponsors and they were just so shocked that we had all these women in one roof, and there was not one stick of drama. I think they were more impressed by that than the training. So the
Yeah.
following year, we taglined it, said it's cheaper in therapy, and
I,
it is a hoot. The dates are February 15th, I believe. We check in on Thursday, so I think the 15th is a Thursday. We actually train on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The final party is on Sunday, and then we check out Monday morning. It is a holiday weekend, and we do that for a reason because kids are generally out of school. So it's a little easier on parents to schedule, childcare if they need that. Like my dad can usually step in because he doesn't have to take Cannon to school and he can watch Cannon for me, or my husband doesn't. I don't have to worry about them missing the bus for school because I'm not there, things like that, right? But it's a really good time. If you're interested, it is an all-inclusive event. So your ticket gets you the room, the training, the food, the parties, it gets you everything. And you can go to www.clubwin2eyesretreat.com and you can join us. We're almost sold out though. We have, I think it was 10 tickets left last night when I counted. I haven't looked today, but last night there was 10 spots left.
okay. So listen, you all, it is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. It's www.clubwin2eyesretreat.com. Okay.
It's not .com. It's just one
I
.com.
know, I know. I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and edit that right quick, guys. My bad, my bad. Here we
Well,
go.
there's so many different dot somethings now. I didn't want anybody to think there was a new
It is.
one.
It is. So it's www.clubwinretreat.com, you all. And so if you go ahead there, you can go ahead and just find out more and just sign up. It looked like a great time, and I know that the women who have gone there, they have definitely they have transformed their businesses. Because how many people come? Like, what's the number?
So we try not to have any more than 70 because we want it to be intimate. So it's usually somewhere between 50 and 70 women. And everybody keeps asking, get it bigger, get it bigger. I'm like, I don't want it bigger because then I got to move into a hotel and then it turns into a conference. And that's not my vision for it. Now, it doesn't mean at some point I may not do something else and do that so more people can get involved. But this specific event is meant to be intimate and is meant to build lifelong relationships. We have women that were there the very first year that really connected, and they talk. It's like 2 years later, 3 years later, however long it's been now. They talk every day. They start their day every morning with each other, and for different reasons. Some are doing business strategies. Some ladies have just found morning workout buddies because they needed that. I mean, it's amazing when you put a group of women together that all have the same mindset. What can happen?
I love that. I love that. I think that's so beautiful. One of the things that I have really experienced this year in insurance is sisterhood. Okay. And sisterhood is something that we need in this industry, because I'm gonna tell you, the guys, they know how to get along, right? And if and if they don't know how to if they don't like each other, they know how to get the job done. And I know you don't want to harp so much on you being a seven-figure earner, but that is something that is very rare for a woman in this industry to get to, because a lot of times we don't have the network, okay, to do it. It's a lot of secrets that men, kind of keep, they have their own code, they have their own golf course code, okay, that we're not usually in. And that's really where the deals are made, right? So, I don't take it lightly that you've gotten to where you have, something, you know what I mean? You've been able to, you've been able to reach that level. And that's such a big deal. That is such a big deal because we're all out here working. Again, we're all out here trying to get success and get to that level. So where the sisterhood is where we should all be. And also sisterhood is a state of being, state of mind as well, like you said. everybody came there and it wasn't any drama. Didn't mean everybody liked each other, right? Didn't even mean that everybody agreed, because guess what? Everybody's agency is still the best and all those things. However, you all were able to come together for a common purpose, which is to reach success and to change your life. And I think it's amazing. And I know people keep going coming back year after year after year after year. So that's amazing. Congratulations, Rebecca, and everything that you're building.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Truly. As you know, what we do is not easy, but it's worth it.
It is. It is worth it. It is worth it for sure. All right, you all. So check them out. Again, it's www.clubwin retreat.com. Rebecca Davis, and Faith Horton, they are hosting it. All right. Send my love to everyone there. And any last words, Rebecca, for, maybe somebody's out here and they're looking at this and they want to be just like you. They want to
uh,
be just like you, Rebecca. They can really emphasize with your story. Uh-huh.
that's so funny.
Mhm.
I don't ever see myself like that. You know, when people come up to me at the conferences or the events or reach out to me online, sometimes what they say to me, I mean, just really sets me back. I'm so humbled because, you know, I just grew up from a working family. All
Yes.
I know how to do is work. I am not college educated. I have learned by doing. And nobody's perfect. And if you're starting this business, I don't care what your background is. If your heart is in it to help people, you will be successful. I promise. I promise you will. But I also promise it does not happen in 90 days like you hear about on Facebook. It does take time to build a real business to have true success because anything that happens that quickly is not sustainable. So slow and steady, will always in the race, always keep putting one foot forward in front of the other. I don't care how fast, as long as you're moving forward, you're making progress. And as long as your heart is in it for the right reasons, you will be successful. I guarantee it.
Absolutely. I love that. Y'all hear that, y'all? Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. I think that is huge what she is saying. A lot of times, so many people, they just stop. They just stop. They just come to a standstill. They get overwhelmed, all these things, and they just stop. So whatever it is, and listen, for those of you all who are watching live right now, I want you to write, what is your next step? Right? Sometimes your next step could be for signing up for the pre-licensing course, right? Sometimes your next step could be going ahead and getting that guide, getting into there and signing up for a test date, or maybe you failed the test, right? And so maybe your next step is getting a cram course, right? Or studying again or rescheduling your test. Or if you're past all that, right, and you've tried this and let's say you called the people and they didn't answer. Well, maybe your next step might be getting some more leads, or maybe it might be going into the carrier back office, printing off a flyer, and introducing yourself again to the people around you, right? Whatever it is, you all, just move forward. You have Rebecca here. I'm sure she's had a lot of setbacks, right? I'm sure you have. We ain't gonna get into all that, but let me tell you something. For a person to get to seven figures, they have made a lot of six-figure mistakes. Okay. But guess what? She kept going, you all. And so I think that her advice is great. I remember I was in a acting class, and I remember I finished with the teacher and I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? She was like, just take the next obvious step, the next obvious step. And that's kind of how I lived my life. And you all, it will all fall together. Rebecca, thank you again. As always, Rebecca, can you please tell the people what day it is?
What day it is?
Mm-hmm.
Like the actual date?
Y'all help her out in the comments. Y'all, it's a great day to sell insurance, okay?
Oh, love it. Yes, it's absolutely a great day to sell insurance. Every day is a great day to sell insurance.
Yes, it's a great day to sell insurance, you all. All right, you all. Y'all have a blessed day. Again, Rebecca, thank you. Make sure y'all confused about the next step. Go get y'all free guide at www.melissadhall.com/resources. No matter where you are in your journey, it got the next step for you.